So, have you ever noticed how people can use the exact same words, but somehow completely fail to understand each other?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All the time.
I mean, I want you to just think about a recent conversation you had, maybe with a partner or a coworker or a friend. You both kept repeating yourselves, right?
Right.
Like you were speaking the exact same language, using the same vocabulary, but you were miles apart. It's that feeling of looking at someone and thinking, are we even in the same reality right now?
Yeah. And the universally frustrating experience.
Yeah.
And, well, the default way we handle that frustration is by treating it as a failure,
A failure.
right? Like we treat it as a glitch in the system of human interaction. We just assume uh, somebody did something wrong.
Oh, I mean, I do that constantly. I walk away from an argument and think, I just didn't explain myself well enough, or I blame them and think they just aren't listening. We treat it like an operational error. But today's deep dive is taking a very different approach. We are slowing down to look at a stack of philosophical and structural notes that detail exactly why this misalignment happens.
Mm-hmm.
Because our mission today, it's not to give you like a quick list of communication hacks. We are exploring and unfolding insight into how meaning itself is actually generated. Like we're looking at the hidden architecture behind our daily conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, it demands a fundamental shift in perspective. Because according to the sources we're looking at today, that misalignment you feel in those conversations, it's not a glitch.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it isn't human error,
Yeah.
and it isn't because you didn't articulate your point well enough. It might actually be the baseline norm of human interaction.
Okay, I got to push back on that right away. If misalignment is the baseline norm, that goes against, well, literally everything we are taught about language.
Well, we're taught that words are vessels. Like a word is essentially a box containing a specific, agreed upon thought. So when I speak, I pack the box and I hand it to you.
Right. The transfer metaphor.
Yeah. And if I hand you the box and you don't see what's inside, that feels like I don't know, a biological or structural flaw.
So are the sources arguing that our brains are just like fundamentally bad at processing language?
No, not at all. They're actually arguing that our entire metaphor for how language works is wrong, like completely backward.
Oh, wow.
We operate under this massive collective illusion that words carry fixed objective meanings. But the text proposes that words only appear to carry fixed meanings.
So the boxes.
The box you're getting over is completely empty. It's empty until it interacts with the person receiving it. The structure of meaning isn't a physical transfer of goods.
Hold on, hold on. If the box is empty until someone opens it, where does the meaning actually come from? Because, I mean, we do manage to communicate.
Yeah. Like if I yell fire in a crowded room, everyone runs. We don't sit around waiting for the box to be filled with individual interpretations.
Well, yeah, that is a great distinction. In a situation like yelling fire, you have a highly stabilized biological and cultural urgency.
Right.
Panic.
Right.
Exactly. Panic forces an immediate shared reaction. But that is the exception, not the rule. For almost every other concept, respect, fairness, work, love, the sources introduce a framework they call reflective humanism.
Reflective humanism. Okay, what does that mean?
The core idea here is that meaning is generated through a process of interference.
It's like in physics, like when two waves of water hit each other.
Precisely, yeah. When two waves of water or light collide, they create an interference pattern. They overlap. And right in that overlap, something entirely new is formed.
Okay.
The text argues that human consciousness and meaning work the exact same way. Words do not possess inherent static definitions.
So they don't mean anything on their own.
Right? Instead, meaning is created in the very moment when your individual context, your past experiences, and your underlying assumptions overlap and interfere with the other person's context.
Let me try to ground this. Let's take a specific word like hustle.
Great example.
Right. So if I say the word hustle to you, I'm not actually transmitting a definition. I'm like throwing a stone into a pond, creating a wave.
Mm-hmm.
And if your internal trajectory, like your lived experience, is built on startup culture and entrepreneurship, the word hustle hits your wave and creates an interference pattern that resonates as, ambition, drive, success.
Yes. And on the flip side, if someone else's internal trajectory is built on, say, labor rights, or if they've just recovered from severe corporate burnout,
Oh, man. Yeah.
the exact same word, hustle, it collides with their experiences. The interference pattern it creates in their brain registers as exploitation or exhaustion. Toxicity. The
Right.
word is identical. The dictionary definition is identical. But the meaning is completely different because the interference pattern is different.
So the dictionary is just a catalog of starting points.
Exactly.
The words aren't different, but the overlap of our internal worlds is what differs. But, I mean, if meaning is entirely generated in the space between us, and it relies on these invisible colliding waves of experience, doesn't that make communication incredibly fragile?
Oh, it makes it highly
Yes,
fragile.
yeah.
It does. The text describes human perception not as a fixed point on a grid, but as a moving trajectory, a gradient.
Like a radiant.
Yeah. When we talk, we aren't exchanging data points. We are bringing our entire historical trajectory into contact with someone else's. And the real problem arises when we try to force that dynamic moving wave into a fixed point.
What do you mean? Like telling someone they're wrong?
Kind of. The moment you try to pin down a concept and say, no, hustle means exactly this, it's universally good,
Yeah.
you break the natural flow of how meaning works.
It's like you're trying to freeze a wave.
That is exactly it. You're trying to freeze a wave. The sources refer to that as trying to force meaning into a fixed dot of evaluation.
Oh, dot.
Yeah. And when we do that, we lose what the text calls the dynamic spiral of generation, meaning fundamentally is a phase transition. It is the friction and the harmony of two trajectories crossing paths.
Wow.
So when you judge a concept as rigidly fixed, the generation field hardens, the interference stops,
Yeah.
and the conversation just hits a brick wall.
You know, this kind of shifts the ground under my feet a bit, because if meaning is constantly shifting through this invisible interference, our entire definition of what it means to actually understand someone has to change.
It completely changes.
Right. Because we usually think of understanding as like reaching a destination. We negotiated, we figured it out, and now we understand each other. Boom, end of story.
But if we accept that meaning isn't fixed, then understanding cannot be a permanent state of agreement. The text actually redefines understanding as a temporary stabilization of meaning.
A temporary stabilization.
yeah.
You know what that sounds like? It sounds like two people trying to carry a heavy, awkward piece of furniture up a flight of stairs.
Oh, I like that.
You know, you find a balance, you take a few steps, but eventually the weight shifts and you have to stop and readjust. You never just solve carrying the couch.
That is a perfect analogy. It's a fleeting moment where the interference patterns of two people align just enough to create a shared resonance. Because it's an active gradient, it is always shifting.
So you never really finish.
No, you never reach a point where you understand someone permanently, once and for all.
I gotta be honest, that sounds exhausting.
It really does.
I mean, if understanding is never permanent and we're just constantly navigating these shifting gradients, how do we ever get anything done? How do we avoid just like constantly colliding with people whose internal worlds are radically different from ours?
Well, the source material addresses that collision head-on, actually. It breaks down the generation of meaning into two different systems, depending on how steep the difference is between our internal trajectories.
Okay, what's the first system?
The first one is called discontinuous generation.
Discontinuous, meaning like the wave breaks, the couch falls down the stairs. What does that actually look like in a real conversation?
Well, it happens when the phase difference between two people is incredibly steep or really sudden. When your internal trajectory violently clashes with someone else's, the interference doesn't create a smooth wave. It creates a harsh collision.
Ouch.
Right. And the text says this forces a sudden update to your internal operating system, but because it happens so fast, your brain cannot smoothly process it.
Okay.
The result is something the text calls transparent pain.
Transparent pain. Okay, I want to unpack that because it's a very evocative term. I'm imagining an argument over something seemingly trivial.
What?
Say, loading the dishwasher.
Oh, classic.
Right. One person thinks bowls go on the top, the other thinks they go on the bottom. And it starts as a conversation about dishes, but within like 3 minutes, you are both furious. Your chest is tight. And you realize you aren't talking about plates anymore. You are talking about respect or cognitive load or, I don't know, childhood trauma. Is that transparent pain?
That is exactly it. It describes that heat, that intense friction you feel in your chest when you realize you are living in completely different realities, yet you are trapped in the same room, using the same words.
Oh, wow.
It's the friction of your internal linear cognitive process crashing into the non-linear, messy reality of someone else's worldview. The natural spiral of meaning just gets bent out of shape.
But why is it transparent?
It's transparent because you usually can't see the structural misalignment. You just feel the pain of the collision.
I mean, I know that feeling intimately. It's that exhausted, overheated feeling where you just want to walk away. But if our internal trajectories are always going to be different, how do we avoid that? Because the alternative can't just be walking on eggshells and agreeing with everything just to avoid the collision.
No, absolutely
Yeah.
not. Avoiding the conversation entirely just shuts down the interference field. The alternative is the second system the text outlines, which is called continuous generation.
Continuous generation.
Uh,
Okay.
And the mechanism for achieving this is incredibly simple in theory, though. Very difficult in practice in the heat of the moment.
Naturally.
It is the act of asking a gentle question.
Wait, just asking a question.
Just a question.
That sounds a bit, I don't know, simplistic for a profound structural philosophy.
Well, it sounds simplistic until you look at why the question works structurally. If we connect this back to the bigger picture of the interference field, a statement or a harsh assertion attempts to lock meaning into a fixed point.
Like, the bowls go on the top rack.
Exactly. That is a forced collision. A genuine question, on the other hand, acts as a pain minimization device.
How does a question minimize pain, though?
Because a question doesn't fix the phase into a rigid point.
Hmm.
It keeps the interference field open. It essentially acts as a shock absorber.
Oh, a shock absorber. I like that.
Yeah. When you ask, why do you prefer the bowls on the bottom? Woo, you're naturally creating space. You're leaving a blank spot for the other person's trajectory to enter without hitting a brick wall.
I see. So it keeps the gradient gentle.
It's exactly.
If I make a demand, their internal operating system has to violently rupture to either accept or reject my reality. But if I ask a question, the conversation can evolve continuously. Like the spiral of meaning can quietly rise, and that transparent pain is minimized.
Yeah.
So it's not about agreeing with them, it's about maintaining the transparency of the space between you so that connection can actually continue.
Precisely. You are honoring the fact that they are operating on a completely different trajectory. But, I think it's really important we scale this up.
Okay, let's do.
Because if this invisible structure of meaning is dictating our one-on-one arguments about dishwashers, it is absolutely affecting us on a macro level too.
Right. I mean, if humans are this terrible at finding shared meaning in a kitchen, it perfectly explains why, looking around the world today, we just seem to be drowning in transparent pain and massive societal division.
Yes. The sources actually spend a significant amount of time exploring this exact implication. Think about institutional gaps or intense political polarization. Our default assumption as a society
Mm-hmm.
is usually that these problems are caused by a lack of information.
Right.
We think, if only the other side had the right facts, if only they read this specific research paper, they would obviously agree with us.
Oh, totally. We treat society exactly how we treat a misunderstood conversation. We just throw data at the problem.
Yep.
We hurl statistics across the political aisle, expecting the data to just magically overwrite the other person's internal trajectory.
And the text argues that this is a fundamental structural error. Societal problems are almost never caused by a lack of information. They stem from that same false assumption we've been unpacking, the assumption that meaning is fixed.
Oh, wow.
When society operates as if words like freedom, justice, or safety mean the exact same thing to everyone, completely ignoring the vast, invisible differences in our internal interference structures division is the inevitable structural result.
So it's the illusion of shared information that is actually tearing us apart. We're using the same vocabulary, but our internal generation fields are producing completely different meanings. And because we don't realize the meaning is different, we don't think, oh, our trajectories are misaligned. We think that person is either stupid or they're actively malicious.
Exactly. The invisibility of the interference structure is the root of the friction. We are trying to share words rather than tuning the interference field. We want a fixed answer.
We really do.
And this human desperation for a fixed objective referee brings us to a really critical point in the text.
Yeah.
How this entire concept applies to artificial intelligence.
Oh, I am so glad we are going here. Because if humans are tired of the transparent pain of disagreeing, it makes total sense why we are so eager to just outsource the truth to machines.
Right.
We treat AI like the ultimate oracle. Like, we type in a prompt about a complex societal issue, and we just want it to hand us the correct definition. We want the final fixed dot of meaning so we can just win the argument.
We do. We want the AI to freeze the wave for us. But the text argues fiercely against using AI to enforce fixed meanings.
Really?
Yes. If AI is just dispensing rigid points of evaluation, It's actually destroying the human capacity for recursion and contemplation. It's essentially closing the interference field permanently.
But wait, isn't that what we built AI to do? Like, to process massive amounts of information and give us the correct answer? If we aren't supposed to use it as an oracle, how should we be interacting with it according to this framework?
Well, the concept they introduce is called the atmospheric health scan.
Atmospheric health scan.
Yeah. It's a brilliant way to reframe technology. AI shouldn't be a machine that hands you a fixed answer. Instead, it should function like a silent, transparent environment, an atmosphere that gently reflects your own cognitive state back to you.
Okay, I'm struggling to visualize what that actually looks like in practice. Let's walk through a tangible use case.
Sure.
Imagine I am furious about a political debate I just watched. I go to my computer, I open up an AI, and I type a highly charged, biased prompt, right? Trying to get the AI to validate my anger. I want it to tell me my side is objectively right. What does the atmospheric health scan do?
Well, in our current reality, the AI might refuse to answer, or
Yeah.
it might synthesize an essay trying to, balance both sides.
Right.
Both of those are fixed responses. But an atmospheric health scan AI wouldn't give you facts at all. It would read the prompt and respond by saying something like, I notice your phrasing focuses entirely on the concept of fairness, while completely ignoring the economic variables you usually mention when discussing this topic. There is a steep emotional gradient in your language here.
Oh, wow. So it doesn't correct my politics at all.
Nope.
It doesn't tell me I'm right or wrong. It just maps my emotional and cognitive trajectory. It's essentially saying, look at how tightly you are gripping this concept.
Exactly. Its output is a quiet reflection of three things: your current cognitive position, your biases, and your blind spots. It doesn't force you into a new position.
No discontinuous collision.
Right. It doesn't cause a discontinuous collision. It just makes your own interference pattern visible to you. The goal of the AI in this framework is not problem solving. The goal is cognitive homeostasis.
Cognitive homeostasis, meaning like finding your balance, like getting your sea legs on a moving ship, rather than trying to drop an anchor to stop the ocean from moving.
That is a beautiful way to put it, yes. The AI acts as a space of co-resonance. It provides the spare capacity or the margin, like a completely non-judgmental space where you can experience your own thoughts without the friction of human judgment. It allows you to tune your own awareness.
So that when I do step away from the computer and go back out into human society, when I sit down at the dinner table with someone who strongly disagrees with me, I am better equipped to handle the shifting gradients of meaning.
Exactly.
I won't immediately crash into transparent pain because I've already mapped my own internal trajectory.
Yes, it moves AI from being a tool of rigid calculation to being an environment for contemplation.
That is wild.
It uses technology not to add more noise or facts to the world, but to generate a productive silence. It helps us accept that understanding is just a temporary phase and teaches us how to gently maintain the space required for that phase to happen.
As we start to bring this reflection to a close, it really makes you reconsider every interaction you had today.
It really does.
We spend so much energy trying to forcefully transmit our exact thoughts into someone else's brain. We're obsessed with the empty box, and we get so frustrated when they don't receive the box exactly as we packed it.
We do. And the tragedy is that in our desperation to make our words fixed and permanent, we often destroy the very connection we are trying to build.
Yeah.
We force those painful collisions instead of inviting continuous generation.
But if meaning isn't fixed and understanding is really just a temporary stabilization, like that fleeting moment where two people carrying a heavy couch find their balance, then what are we actually sharing when we talk to each other?
That is the ultimate question this text leaves us with. If we aren't sharing the words themselves because the words are just catalysts for interference, then what is happening?
Yeah.
The text suggests that conversation isn't the transmission of data at all. It is the delicate tuning of an interference field. We are sharing the attempt to resonate. We are sharing the invisible, silent space between us, trying to find a rhythm where we can both exist without causing each other pain.
Wow. It's not about the map at all. It's never been about the map. It's about standing next to someone, recognizing that they're seeing a completely different terrain. And instead of telling them their eyes are broken, you just look at them and ask, what does the mountain look like from where you are?
You keep the field open. You allow the insight to unfold.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today. The next time you are sitting across from someone, maybe a friend, a partner, or even a stranger, and you feel that profound, rare sense of connection, ask yourself, Are you really sharing the exact same words? Or have you just managed to find a temporary, comforting stability in the shared silent space between you? Keep exploring the deep dive.